It's still cold at home, but things are heating up in spring training for the Twins, who might steal more bases this season, maybe. Plus, Carlos Correa, Justin Topa, and Royce Lewis are feeling healthy. Thanks for asking. And right-hander Alex Spies continues his Hollywood-like ascension from high school coach to social media darling to the major leagues. A lot going on, so let's get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source. Your go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable in life as well. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer since there was still milk in the giant gallon inside the Metrodome. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. I still drink milk, too. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, a Twins writer who was a Twins fan before that, and today is the site expert at Puckett's Pond, a blog about the Twins that we both write for. You should check it out. Today's podcast will examine the possibility of the Twins stealing more bases in 2025. They swiped a total of 65 last season, which was only 2 behind Elly De La Cruz of the Reds, all by himself. So they were last in the league. We'll check about we'll also check in with the health of Carlos Correa, Justin Topa, and Royce Lewis. Royce, it doesn't sound like, appreciates house calls. And we'll screen the new Disney flick about Alex Spies' life, a reboot of The Rookie, the Jim Morris story about a high school baseball coach making it to the major leagues. Now with a TikTok element added for the Gen Alphas. Before we get into details, please understand that our Locked On Twins show is brought to you by me and Brandon. Stolen bases are up, Brandon, 45% since 2022 to about 121 per team per season. The Twins run about half that pace. Rod Carew, Hall of Famer, is in camp, and he's trying to shame Byron Buxton into stealing 60 bases. Carew's on the coaching staff now, so Buxton must do what he says, right?
As you were introing too, I was going to be like, well, I don't drink milk. And so I thought that'd be a good intro for me too. Unlike you, but when I look at, so I'm looking at some stolen base figures, and the Twins were 27th in efficiency at 73.9%. Now, MLB average is 79%. And I know that there's like, excuse me again, run expectancy matrices that tell you if you don't steal bases at X percent, you're actually costing yourself production. Now, I don't know in this current run environment what it is. I know that in the past, it's kind of been like 75, 80%. And I would guess league average probably isn't far from what that actual answer is. Now, so my overarching thought here is universally or unilaterally saying the Twins need to steal more bases is oversimplifying it a bit. They were not efficient at it last year, and to do something, I find that men, when they're doing something wrong, feel like they have to do it more or harder to make it better. And yes, I'm going to steal bases harder is not the plan here. Now, with that said, if you can get Willie Castro doing a little better, get Byron Buxton doing a little better, there's certainly some room for improvement here. But I would be more along the lines of like, how efficiently can they do it? You're obviously not asking Carlos Correa to swipe 15 bags for you, but some of your better base runners could grab you one here or there. You know, your Carlos Santana type players where you don't think of them as fast, but are definitely heady, smart players. Now, again, I know he's not on the team anymore, but as far as a unilateral, we need to steal more bases. It reminds me of the 2011 Twins. Now, in case you don't remember, the Ron Gardenhire-led 2011 team wanted to get faster after 2010. Now, 2010 was the first year at Target Field. They had a tremendous team and lost in the playoffs. And their idea of getting faster was swapping out J.J. Hardy for Tsuyoshi Nishioka. And it kind of exemplified like how speed by itself is not the answer to anything. But with that said, I don't think they're trying to unilaterally apply it here as like, got to steal more bases. It's a one-track mind. I think if you can find an efficiency there, they should exploit it. But it's definitely not a front burner issue for me if I'm watching the Twins and assessing where they can improve.
Well, it's not a burner issue because the Twins aren't fast either.
Right.
And Phil Miller's story that included Rod Carew's shaming of Byron Buxton for not running more. He notes that the Twins are the slowest team in the league per StatCast. Nice 40 time, Falvey.
Yeah.
But so they don't run fast. There is the fact that they're not efficient at it. They don't seem to. Carlos Correa had no stolen bases last year. Not a big surprise given plantar fasciitis, I guess, although no one would expect it. There's that standpoint too. And he seems like the kind of guy that would kind of know when to go. He's got a high baseball IQ, but he doesn't want to risk the injury, which is the other factor. The Twins have that kind of low flying cloud hanging around. Well, we don't want to get hurt. And I think to a certain extent, it makes them, well, I don't want to say timid, but certainly they don't want to do it.
And I don't know how much like the speed score on FanGraphs works for this kind of analysis, but from last year, the Twins were 27th with a 4.2. Number one in MLB was Milwaukee, 6.0. Dead last, Chicago White Sox, 3.7. But like the team leading the AL Central would not surprise you at all. It's the Royals at 5.6. Third in MLB behind the Reds with Ellie De La Cruz and the Brewers with, a handful of fast guys. So again, though, I think it more comes down to just knowing what you have players capable of and what you're asking them to do. And, Rocco is a manager who also will use matchups and splits and that sort of thing. So I think it's more along the lines of we want to get a better feel for when these opportunities make sense and to take them, not just, at the end of the day, we want our stolen base numbers up. It's more situational than it is actual, year-to-year comparison. It's like if they find a spot where a reliever who doesn't hold the runner well is in there and you want to move someone from first to second, that's an opportunity. And I think that I get the sense that that's more along the lines of what they'd like to implement than anything maybe a little less nuanced. It
got me wondering the whole topic, how much do stolen bases really matter in run production? And they do help. Yeah. FanGraphs had a good story about this. Ben Clemens wrote, per our play-by-play database, the average successful stolen base attempt or stolen base event added 0.169 runs to a team's expected run scoring. The average caught stealing, on the other hand, cost a team 0.394 runs. So a stolen base attempt where you're caught stealing is kind of bad. So that's kind of going into the thinking, but it still helps push things along. There's that. And there's also what the players say about it. Ellie De La Cruz, it gives energy to the whole field. Bobby Witt, it's fun to get more guys in scoring position. It heightens everybody's focus and gets their energy up. And even the sabermetric guys will say that, well, it gets the defense worrying about something other than what the pitcher is throwing to the batter. So there's lots of good reasons to do it. And, just the going out there and getting, 80 more stolen bases and still getting caught at what did you say the percentage was? 73 and change. Yeah, that's not going to do it. The Twins probably, they want to steal 80%. You got to really steal about that much to make it worth it.
Well, and based on the figures that Ben had there, you could probably reverse engineer the actual ratio of how many times you'd have to steal per attempt effectively to not cost yourself big in the long term. And I suspect, like I said, I'm not smart enough to do that math, but it's probably right around that league average mark of 79, 80%. No, it used to be, I think when the homers are in more abundance, the percentage rate is higher because you're giving up chances for runners on base when there's homers. Like in 2019, that probably would have been out of whack based on that run environment. So it depends on, if runs are at a premium or if you're hitting home runs, like all of those are different variables as far as like when can you or can't you or shouldn't you risk a runner in motion in terms of adding or subtracting value. You see stolen bases as a standalone category, but you also have to look at caught stealings and percentages and, keep in mind that the Twins are definitely doing that too. So I'll be curious to see what the final number looks like on the season, but more so the efficiency than the actual raw number.
Buck, the chances of Buck stealing 60, by the way, I don't know. His career high for a season is 29, although he's been mostly around since they've kind of gone out of vogue. Stolen bases.
He's got to
now
hit
they're
60
coming back
singles first. I mean, that's just the thing is he doesn't walk much and he doesn't hit many singles. That's why stolen bases for him is kind of a weird thing. And that was
in.
kind of
Yeah,
always
Rod, don't you know that, Mr. Carew,
Well-
Mr. Hall of Famer?
well, my take with him too was everybody wanted him to hit leadoff back in the day because of how fast he was. And I said either he's going to develop as a low OBP, high slugging kind of hitter that you're going to want to hit sixth, seventh, or not seventh, fifth, sixth, or he takes that jump to superstardom, which I mean, he hasn't at his best. He's at that level, and that's a guy you hit second or third. So I mean, he's never really had that skill set for leading off and stealing a ton of bases because he doesn't walk much and he doesn't hit that many singles. So in theory, yeah, he should steal a bunch of bases, but in practice, I don't know if I see it.
All right, well, we're going to lumber into our next segment after this commercial break.
And while we're lumbering, we're going to bring along some pistachios. It's wonderful pistachios, and they are a snack that are both delicious and nutritious. Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. They are one of the highest protein nuts you're going to find anywhere. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you, easy for me to say, feeling full longer. It's a tongue twister, but I got it. For me, it's the no shell variety. I like the little added legwork of shelling them. And I think that comes back to me playing baseball and doing the sunflower seeds while I'm playing. I kind of like the process of extricating that. And so I think that that's why I go that route. But whether I'm snacking at my desk, getting ready for a show, or on a road trip, or just if my wife and I are watching TV at night, watching some trashy, stupid TV to fall asleep to, and we need a little quick protein boost, wonderful pistachios are the way to go. She's got a bag of them on the bedside table at all times. It's absolutely hysterical. And again, the in-shell option is the way to go for us, but they do have the shelled as well. You can get snackin and get crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Again, that's wonderfulpistachios.com.
Back with Locked On Twins. We're talking stolen bases. We talked enough about that. Now we're going to talk about some health issues. Although maybe we're not going to talk about it because Royce Lewis is like, no, I don't want to talk about this anymore. So, so far, Royce, Carlos Correa, Justin Topa, 3 guys that Twins fans had to worry about last year for various things, for various health issues. They're all healthy, knock on wood. But this is what Royce Lewis said to Phil Miller. And they might be the it couple this year as far as quotes go.
Yeah.
We're going to stop talking about the health stuff, Royce said. That's a bad juju, man. I remember I said something about a slump. I was actually saying that you go through slumps, but I just didn't go through that thing mentally. So he's trying to walk back that slump comment. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to talk about any of that because the baseball gods hear you and things go the wrong way. So it's Royce's opinion that we're not going to talk about slumps anymore because the baseball gods misunderstood him. And then he went into a slump. And he doesn't want the baseball gods to misunderstand him more about getting hurt because he wants to stay healthy. Is this a correct course of action, or should we keep bothering him so we get good quotes?
I think you keep bothering him. Honestly, I'm a reporter with an empty notebook, and I need some material. I'm heading over to that locker right away. So, I think he's just trying to keep a good attitude about it all. I think at the end of last year, when there was some discussion of when he said that, I guess it all kind of falls on the young guys or whatever. Like, I don't think he liked how that was perceived, and I don't think it was perceived the way he meant it, or I think he said it and maybe didn't mean it the way it was taken. A long roundabout way of saying, I guess. But I think he's basically just, doesn't want to be known as the quote guy. He doesn't want to be someone that is going to have these ridiculous sayings that are going to get brought back to him. But at the same time, too, he wants to be accountable and he wants to be available. So I don't know. I mean, I think you're right, though. I think Phil and him are going to be a really funny quote duo over the course of the year because Royce has a lot to say, and I think he's got a really good spirit about it. But I also think, too, like the no slump thing, like I think if he had run that through a PR person, they'd have been like, "Oh, bro, we don't need to say that. We don't need to say
That's
that
not
at
going
all."
to come out how you want it to, because everybody goes through slumps.
Right.
Oh,
And
I meant that it doesn't bother me. I mean, it would have been nice to say that in the moment, but
yeah. And again,
too late.
we also just put a lot of stock in things we see or think we see, like the quote yesterday, also in Fort Myers, of Tristan Casas talking about who should play where. And I don't know that he was necessarily trying to be like pointed, or like he was trying to gas up Rafael Devers, his teammate, and everybody just kind of took it as like, does he even have the carte blanche to say that? Or should he even be, it's like, he's probably just answering questions he's asked. And like, if you, this is no disrespect to any of the reporters in place, but those quotes being put out there the way they were probably are going to color his view of how to interact with reporters and the kind of quotes he gives in the future. So you have to be very careful to allow context where needed. And I'm not saying they did or didn't necessarily do that, but I'm definitely saying that if you think the general public can run with something in a negative way and that's not what you intend, you have to be careful with that. And I'm talking about as a reporter, also as a player, I suppose. But when I look at that, I'm like, oh man, it can be dangerous to kind of step in that bucket and, your quotes start kind of spiraling on you because fans that are not down there are taking them in a funny way. So I don't know.
Well, that's one of the reasons that Twitter can be bad, because it's 140 characters or however many.
60 now, isn't it? I think it's 60, 160.
I don't know. Whatever. Unless you have a check mark and you can write an opus. But it's important for reporters. It's up to them. It behooves them. It's their responsibility to keep things in context. And it is, I mean, at some point you sort of have to let the public consume it and do with it what they will. But I think Casas's point, your point about Casas making it just trying to be supportive of Devers, who's not the new guy. He's the guy who's been there. I think that's the first thing I thought of when he said it. Oh, he's just being supportive of Devers. But I do like to give guys the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he was running freelance GM opinions, like ripping the front office or anything like that. Although he could, because it's interesting to me that, and this is not Locked On Red Sox, that the Red Sox didn't talk to Devers about how they were changing their philosophy. It's just, he was promised something and Alex Cora made note of this. Well, that guy in the front office isn't here anymore. So all those deals are off. Okay, but maybe you should talk to the guy about it first before. I mean, they could have diffused this.
Yeah, that feels
the bomb went off.
That feels like the kind of thing the Twins don't step in as much as other teams do. They usually do a pretty good job of okay, like when they signed Josh Donaldson, Miguel Sano got on the phone. He's like, "Come play with us. I'll move to first base for you." Like, again, not saying that the Twins are blameless in any sort of issues on that front, but it is a little bit weird that everyone's acting like, wow, we had no idea any of this was happening. And again, too, that's the issue with signing someone late and that person being a bit of a lightning rod for different reasons. So part of the bee's nest is one that the Red Sox built themselves and are then poking it in turn, is I think what I'm trying to say here.
Right. And they do seem to step in it every once in a while. Back to the Twins, and they're feeling good with injuries. Carlos Correa, he's implemented this is from the Star Tribune, a daily 20-minute routine to prevent plantar fasciitis from flaring up. I'm doing all the treatments I need to do in order for me to stay on the field every single day. Whatever happens at the end of the day, it's not going to be for a lack of effort. So that's good. That's a good quote to just kind of remind everybody, well, I mean, I might get hurt again, but it's not my fault if I do. It's not only the plantar, Correa said. I have to take care of my Achilles, my calf, my hamstring, and so on, all the way up the kinetic chain.
The fascia, if you will.
The fascia, the prima fascia. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money and effort. That was my favorite part of the quote. What does he mean by that? At the same time, I want to be out there every single day this year. So that's what he's going for. I don't know that I'm going to hold my breath, although I am going to hold my breath that he can do this for 130 games minimum and 140 probably maximum. I think that's right. That would be great to have Carlos Correa out there for that amount.
Well, some days you're the plantar and some days you're the fascia. No, I think that again, I seem to clear
You
my
got
throat.
Kaufman Stadium going on right now,
Yeah,
buddy.
no kidding. I hope that's the case too, and it'll also take some of like Rocco not sprinkling in those days off that he seems to like to put in there. So I think the Twins are all in on this though, based on their plan of not adding a shortstop behind him so far.
Stealing my next point. Yes.
Well, and I did read that they were trying to sign Urias to a minor league deal. Darren Wolfson of KSTP said that after the fact, but he got a big league deal. Yeah, so I think if they're convinced Correa can do this, and all of these guys, I mean, the funny thing is that we're not talking about Byron Buxton's health as much. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does it mean he's still injury prone, but there's more guys ahead of him, or has he kind of progressed into the good now stature and we're talking about other guys? But I just have to say it's refreshing to not be talking about Byron Buxton as much in this vein. Good
story that Betsy wrote in the Pioneer Press about Justin Topa Cabana, the hottest spot north of Havana. Topa got in 3 games last year, and it didn't seem like a lot, but he thinks, and Rocco thinks, that at least it was a good kind of a mental barrier to break through, and it gave him something optimistic to kind of hang on to for the next season. He wasn't very effective. His fastball wasn't good.
Right.
That's still kind of concerning. I'm not sure how I guess it's probably too early to know based on the how they're measuring the speeds at the ballpark, how he's throwing yet, but he is healthy. His knee does feel healthy. He said he heard it last year. I believe it was covering a play at the plate, or maybe that exacerbated it. I don't know. Yeah. And he had an arm injury as well. But that's kind of Topa's for the depth of the bullpen. I don't know that we're all kind of counting on him to pitch well, but if he did, that would just be kind of an amazing addition. And I kind of feel this way about Brock Stewart too. Yeah. Brock Stewart's got great stuff. Can he get to 50 or 60 innings is the question. But if Topa can, that's huge for the Twins. Huge. And I hadn't noticed it right away and not until just recently, but Roster Resources projected bullpen has Topa at St. Paul. Like I didn't even not have him there. Yeah.
Right. And he does have an option to go down there. They could do that without having to DFA him or anything. But he's going to be 34, I think, on opening day. So, I mean, I think that what it boils down to is like, we like these exercises where we can write out the lineup, write out the roster, and then just compare it. Well, theoretically, someone on that bullpen list right now will not be ready for opening day for some reason or another. And that's where Topa jumps in. That's where Lewis Varland jumps in. It still feels weird to say Lewis Varland, but I'm working on it. And so, like, we do a lot of like, oh, what if he's on the outside looking in? Then that's kind of like a good problem to have. You know, someone will come ask you for a reliever at the end of spring training if you have too many to make a trade. You know, if you don't have space for Justin Topa and someone trades you something for him, that means you stayed remarkably healthy, so on and so forth. And so, yeah, the fact that I kind of missed that Topa wasn't even penciled in shows to me how deep this bullpen should be, can be. I'm going to go so far as to say will be. I think this is going to be a really good bullpen, but I do think Topa is going to be part of it. It'll just come down to, do they keep Castellano? Does Michael Tonkin make the opening day roster? Does Brock Stewart or someone else stay healthy? But I'm excited to see what Topa is capable of. I guess Topable, I almost said. Topa is capable of, because we didn't see much of him, and the numbers before coming over to the Twins were good. And if you can get him as your number 5 or 6 reliever on your pecking order, that's a pretty dang good bullpen.
I think it does make sense for Roster Resource to have him on the outside, and it would make, I can just guessing about who the Twins will take on opening day. It makes sense that Topa wouldn't necessarily be part of that team, but would be at St. Paul just because he didn't pitch a lot last year.
Right.
And just to continue to build him up. But of course, that is all dependent on the things you mentioned and how hard he's throwing and how ready he is for the season. So, but so far, good news and hopeful news on the injury front. We're going to take one more break and come back and wrap up this fine episode of Locked On Twins.
In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, how your best athletes make it to the Olympics. The same is true for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy as one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience. They've helped over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fit-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. And if you're in good health, you might even get the same-day coverage. You qualify for same-day coverage for up to $5 million with no medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. SelectQuote. They shop, you save.
Hitting the home stretch with Locked On Twins. Want to talk about Alex Spies, who is, I think he's 27. He was a good prospect, but then he basically quit because he couldn't stay healthy, and was like a sales rep and a little league coach. And his kids were like, "You pitched in, you were a professional and all that. How hard do you throw?" So he did, and he was throwing 97 right out of the box without warming up. So it's like, hey, the kids are like, hey, let's make a TikTok video out of it, because that's all they do. And it sort of, it had like more than 100,000 views, and Alex Spies became sort of a minor celebrity on TikTok, and it helped sort of get him publicity to get back and get a shot. He's been with a couple different teams, and he can throw 100 miles an hour. He doesn't seem to throw a lot of strikes, but this sort of echoes that old true story of Jim Morris, who was a prospect at one time. Stuff happened, injuries happened, or whatever. He became a high school teacher, and he was 35, and the Rangers ended up, or the Rays did, brought him up to it. But his first game was at the Rangers. They made a Disney movie out of it. Dennis Quaid played him. Who's going to play Alex Spies in the movie, Brandon? Is this going to be one of those happy ending stories?
Probably Randy Quaid, if you ask me.
That's not possible.
No, it's not. I don't think he's allowed to work anymore.
No.
I don't think he's. Yeah. Anyway,
no,
I don't know. I mean, he throws the ever loving crap out of the ball, and he has made the big leagues despite having a minor league ERA of, I don't have it in front of me. I thought it was like 5 point something, almost 6. And when you throw that hard, it is you knock down so many obstacles ahead of what you need to get to the big leagues, and teams will give you a chance. And so I'm eager to see if he has anything outside the fastball. I was kind of looking at some of his scouting reports and that sort of thing. It looks like he throws maybe a slider and a cutter, and they do different things. But when you have command like this, or lack thereof command like this, you don't really get a chance to work on those too much. I don't think. You got to kind of figure out where the ball is going. And, that's part of the terror of stepping in with a guy on a guy who can throw in the upper 90s or low hundreds is command. But I'm not holding my breath that he gets a ton of time with the Twins. But I did say, I don't remember if it was here or at Puckett's Pond, that like, if you wanted a deep sleeper to really keep an eye on that could help this team this year, if the Mackey pitching lab gets him walking even just a batter every other inning, you're probably looking at someone who will come in the 5th inning when you're down 5-1 and try to keep you in the game. And in the meantime, will be very entertaining to watch. So he would be a fun guy to follow regardless of what happens as far as pitching and all that. But I am hopeful that if he can find, just a step up on command, what that looks like with the Twins, because the arm talent is very evidently there.
5.56 ERA in 7 minor league seasons.
5.56. All right.
173 in a third innings. 162 walks. That's a lot. But
the dogs love it.
267 strikeouts in 173 innings. It would be absolutely hilarious to see this work.
And he gives up homers sometimes too. I mean, he is like the Joey Gallo of pitchers.
Oh, Joey Gallo, right. I was going to say Nuke LaLoosh, but
maybe like Adam Dunn.
You named a real guy.
Adam Dunn. But as a pitcher.
Well, 15 home runs in 173 innings actually is not too bad. So
no, it's more lately in higher levels he's struggled a bit. But no, you're right.
13 hit by pitches, 8 balks, 35 wild pitches. So, what a fun story. And it's neat that the kids sort of prodded him into getting on TikTok and doing a good thing for once on the internet.
Yeah, right. Finally using that platform for good. Finally.
Well, I think we used this platform for good today.
Yeah,
I think we did. We had a fun time, or at least I did. I hope you did listening. I'm Dave Brown again, and that is Brandon Warren. And you can catch us at Puckett's Pond. We write things basically every day over there, blogging about the Twins, and you can catch us podcasting about them here on Locked On Twins. And we're going to do one again real soon. But until then, we will Alexei Casilla tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. We'll see you, Alexei Casilla.
Alexei!
Tomorrow night.
Did you like my tie?
Oh, I was going to mention